Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Carissa. Super excited about this one. Double super even. Phil with Baton, a great pioneering company in the industry that has created a network for companies to refer each other business services that are outside of their area or maybe services they don't offer. And a fascinating story about how he started the company, kind of where his vision came from, and just kind of how the whole company operates. That's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's always interesting learning our guest's backstory and hearing how he started in music and now how he's gotten to Baton. It's a really good episode.
Yeah, and I've known Phil pretty well, known him for a while. Never had any idea he was a music guy, ever. So that's interesting. All right, well, you guys are going to love this one. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Voice of the Industry podcast. I'm really excited to have Phil Kirkiner, the founder of Baton, which is a great referral company. Really excited. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Raymond. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Great to have you. So let me read your bio here. It's over on this other screen, so I'm going to look off over here a little bit. Phil started his career as a numbers guy. I believe you have a degree in accountancy, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, yes.
It is. As a numbers guy at a fast-growing pest control company. He discovered they were turning down almost half of the potential customers because those potential customers were out of the area and needed services they couldn't provide. He found a solution, and he calls it Baton. It's the industry's fastest growing referral network, which makes it easy and profitable to refer non-qualified callers to other companies, and you get paid for it. Outside of work, Phil's all about adventure, riding scooters through the city or hiking up mountains. I think I remember a YouTube video of you on a scooter or something that I saw once. He's also a semi-pro drummer, which I did not know, who blends creative rhythm with out-of-the-box thinking. He loves learning from different cultures and, yes, even finds joy in spreadsheets, just like my fiance does. She's an accountant, CPA.
That's nice.
Sign of it, and she does financial reporting. And a sign of his mix of creativity and logic. All right, fantastic. And sorry I talked through your bio. Welcome, Phil. It's good for you to be here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. How are you doing today, Raymond?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, it's beautiful here in hot, sunny Florida, and everything's good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I had some eggs and hash browns. I went to a little breakfast place nearby, and it's always a good start to the day. Whenever I need a boost, I get a good old American breakfast. So I'm feeling
that's
boosted.
The way to do it. What was your choice of bread?
I got toast. I just like regular old white bread.
Toast.
Yeah.
Me too. Butter, a little butter, jelly. You go with the jelly?
I don't go with the jelly. I just go with the butter.
Okay.
And I like it just a little bit extra done, more than it should be.
A little drier than most. Okay.
I don't know. The crunch gets me happy, and same. I like my hash browns crunchy. I don't know, just something about the crisp and the crunch is good.
If you get the toast a little toastier, then you could put more butter and it doesn't get as soggy. And that more butter is what it's all about. Right?
That's a life hack.
Yes, free of charge. And I like your big fancy microphone, by the way. I'm a little jealous.
Oh, thanks. It's not mine.
Okay.
It's WeWorks, but it is nice, huh?
It is very nice. It's very nice. Anyway, well, welcome. It's good to have you here. So we're going to talk about Baton today and about you and whatever else you want to talk about. But let's start off with, how it all got started. Let's hear about you. What's your history? I know you were in the industry. Just kind of tell us how how the journey started and kind of how you ended up where you're at today.
Yeah, sure. Well, I won't go all the way back to, the day I was born or anything like that, but I'll go back to maybe high school.
Okay.
In high school, I had, I was all about music and such. I kind of read that in my bio. I got into, I played a lot of drums. I played the marimba with like the two mallets in each hand or whatever. And I thought I was going to go in and have a career as a musician or a band teacher or something else like that. But then I figured, I learned through the hard way. I was like, it's kind of hard to make a lot of money as a band teacher or a musician unless you're a prodigy or something, right? We didn't really have TikTok or YouTube. It was harder to go viral on and stuff. So I was just thinking, okay, well, I got to college and then I had a little crisis. I was like, you know what? I don't know anything about, I can't make money doing this. So who knows about money? The accountants do. I'm going to go be an accountant and learn how to look at and count money, I suppose. And then shortly after that, I recognized that, accountants don't really make a lot of money. They know how to
help other people make money. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was kind of the opposite of the creativity that I had in, in music, with playing drums and being in bands and whatever. So eventually just, landed on starting clubs or businesses or whatever. I started the scooter club in BYU, to get a whole bunch of people together that like to ride scooters, and we'd ride it through the BYU parade, or I'd take me and my buddy would go to San Diego and check out the best pro scooter riders who are doing flips and stuff all around Southern California for fun. And so I was like, okay, this is a lot more fun. Like starting something from scratch and being creative scratches that itch for me. And so as I still stuck through getting my accounting degree, I learned a lot about numbers, and took a lot of electives that were related to entrepreneurship and what have you, and then eventually did summer sales when I was about to get married, and that's how I got introduced to the pest control industry. And it's a great industry, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
It is great. So yeah. I actually enjoyed knocking doors more than being an accountant at Deloitte, where I was doing internships.
That's funny. Well, you couldn't from musician, you couldn't pick a field more opposite, more completely not a musician as an accountant, right? I mean, that's like totally opposite on the spectrum.
It really seems like that. And for whatever reason, I feel like I keep coming across, maybe through Spotify artist bios or just people I've met in real life. It seems like a lot of people who go into like accounting or finance also have some sort of like creative outlet, like, in heavy metal or, electronic dance music or whatever, because a lot of it is kind of mathematical if you think about just how you structure music. But anyway,
makes sense.
And then, so in college, my first business I started before Baton was something called everybankbonus.com. Some of my accounting mentors at some of my internships had this hobby where they'd look up all of the different banks that are offering sign-up bonuses to new customers that, it's like get $200 when you open a checking account with Chase, or $400 with US Bank if you set up direct deposit, yada, yada. And so I made a hobby out of that too, opening up a whole bunch of bank accounts and getting the free few $100 bonuses. And I'd make, $5,000 to $10,000 a year between all of these accounts I was opening and whatnot. And then eventually I was like, this is kind of hard doing all the research, and I bet there's a lot more people that would want to do this too. So I built a website that aggregated all of the different, there's hundreds and hundreds of banks across the country. So I aggregated all of them into a site that made it easy to search, which banks you could, whose offers you could take advantage of and make the free money. And then, that was actually really fun. Built that with my friends, first time understanding how to work in software development and affiliate relationships as well with banks. We eventually got Chase and HSBC and Robinhood and several others advertising on our site, which was pretty cool.
Wow, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was really fun to do that during college. And then after college, I needed like a consistent income, and I didn't want to do door-to-door sales anymore. So that's when I went to work at GreenX Pest Control, fast-growing pest control company, and run by really great people. Had an awesome time working there and learned a ton. And it was there where, I always knew I wanted to start like I wanted to be self-employed or entrepreneurial long-term. And it was there where, I saw the opportunity that was like, okay, well, getting a lot of calls. I was a financial analyst at the time. We're getting a lot of calls for stuff we didn't do, or people moving to other places, or, just calling from places we didn't service. I was like, man, it'd be really great if we could help these customers get the help they need and monetize, that connection, because we're spending money on marketing, and get awesome referrals from other companies. I wonder if I could take this, experience I have from building everybankbonus.com, where, it's about connecting consumers to banks who are getting paid a commission when people sign up for an account. I wonder if I could, kind of build like just a two-sided experience where the companies are sending leads to each other. So, while I was there, tinkered with it, went to Pest World and asked a bunch of companies if they thought it would be a good idea, and I got a lot of good traction. And then and then in 2020 is when I left GreenX, moved to Seattle with my wife for her job, and that's when I went full time on Baton. And that's been about 5 years since then. Wow. And it's been really cool. It's been really, really fun, and learned a ton growing Baton. We have over 800 companies now that refer hundreds of thousands of referrals a year to each other, and some of the biggest brands in the country in the industry. And we're proud to have lots and lots and lots of really small operators as well, especially wildlife guys who love getting qualified wildlife leads referred from pest control companies, because pest control companies all the time, they're getting wildlife calls that they don't do anything with. So I'd say the most fulfilling part of Baton for me is just, how much, I don't want to say how many jobs we've created necessarily, but there's a lot of people who've grown their businesses a lot because of the referral network we've built. A lot of wildlife operators consider us their number one lead source and love how good it is for them. So that makes you feel good. It's like, awesome.
No, that's awesome. But I do want to go back and ask you a logistical question. How did you manage all of those different accounts? What did you do? Like put $10 in them and just leave them there forever, or did you close them eventually? Or that's a lot of it,
all the bank accounts that I was opening.
Yeah.
It was a hassle.
That's what I'm thinking. That seems like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And, some banks, a lot of banks don't have, they'll run soft credit checks on you versus some of them will run hard credit checks just to open a bank account. Usually they don't run a hard credit check because, you're trying to give the bank money. They're not trying to loan you money when you open a bank account. Right. So, you want to make sure that you're not opening accounts at the banks that are going to run hard credit checks on you. A lot of them have different requirements. Some of them is like, you got to direct deposit at least $500 twice a month for 3 months to get your $500 bonus. And, some of them might say, oh, you just got to put in $1,000 and leave it there for 30 days and everything was different. So, accountants love spreadsheets, right? You just track it all in a spreadsheet. And, if even better, if your payroll provider at your job can let you split your paycheck into different accounts at the same time. I don't know. Like I know Gusto does that. A lot of them do. So you just be like, okay, if this new offer requires I just have a direct deposit of any amount go in for a certain amount of time, then I just have my payroll drop $1 in each paycheck for a direct deposit, and that triggers it. And sometimes it's got to be $500 or $250 and whatever. So, as a college student, all of that work for, a few $100, you might back it out and be like, oh, it's like $100 an hour if I spent only 2 hours over the last 3 months doing it. Right. It's a lot of money, right? You can't do it full time,
right?
But it was meaningful.
That's interesting. Yeah,
it was worth the hassle.
Cool. No, I was just trying to think, but that's pretty fascinating. But to your point, bring you back up today here, to your point, I with my experience with wildlife, I can imagine the wildlife guys love you, because I know that when I was working at a pest control company, we had so many wildlife calls all the time, and we didn't really have a great person to refer them, a great company to refer them to, so that's fantastic.
Yeah. It has been good, and I'd say we get a lot of happy wildlife customers, and of course, pest control companies. A lot of them will already have their wildlife guy, and they don't want to use Baton to refer to like other wildlife people, or they might just keep having their one-to-one relationship, and that's totally fine.
Right.
But especially for bigger companies with multiple locations, and spend a lot of money on marketing, and also they might not do bed bugs or commercial work or even termites a lot of the time. Like, having Baton as a platform to always find the right person to refer to is super valuable for the pest control companies and the wildlife guys and everyone else who's getting referrals. Because even a wildlife guy might not cover a whole metro. They might not do everything wildlife related. So you need to have like a validated, complete list,
a wide palette of opportunities there, as it were.
Yeah, and always make sure that you find the exact right person for the caller.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how, if I'm a pest control company owner and I want to use Baton, or I'm interested, just basically in a general outline, how does it work? What do I need to do? How's kind of the process flow?
Yeah. So it's signing up is free. You just meet with one of our reps. You let us know, exactly what services you do, down to the specific type of pest or animal, exactly what zip codes you service, how you want leads to contact you, like what your contact phone number is that you want those callers forwarded to, or you want callers to reach out to, what email you want notified when you get the referrals, et cetera. And if you only do residential and or commercial, or if there's only certain home types you do, you just create your profile to say, hey, everybody, if you're going to refer to me, this is what I do. and then you also set a bid for what you're willing to pay for a qualified contactable referral that comes your way. So you can segment it as well. A lot of companies will be like, hey, for bat leads, we want to pay more money than just for regular raccoon trapping or whatever. Or companies will say, oh, for general pest control in this area, we want to pay, a lot more than, in this area that's less competitive, and we can help strategize with that. But yeah, to sign up, you just load your account with $200 into your wallet that you can use to pay for leads that you get. But then anytime you refer a lead to another company, you get credited a portion of whatever people are paying for the lead you sent their way.
Are you giving them a signing bonus when they make that deposit? Do they get $100?
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, we'll give people a few $100 in free leads that they can cash out or use on referrals that they get. No problem.
That's awesome.
$200 for anyone listening to this podcast right now.
All right. Well, when we air it, yes, absolutely. But no, that sounds. I mean, it sounds really simple. There's not a lot of time and effort for the company to get started, right? And then once they're in the process with Baton, it's pretty easy. They're just getting leads from you guys, right? And then they just go out and sell them.
Yes, and we have a pretty sweet integration with Voice for Pest too, where got a nice little referral button on the platform, makes it easy to pass off those non-qualified leads.
And with AI now, we know we can tell our customers exactly the specific information, and we've made it to where, not to plug Voice for Pest, but we've made it to where we've set up an automatic report in our system that they can just schedule and send it right to Baton. So like every day they can send over anybody that called yesterday that's not whatever. So we're trying to make it easy, for people to grow their businesses along with you guys, of course.
Love that.
All right, so I just got to say, I think it's just a great concept, and I get excited when somebody looks at a process. Like we had Taylor Olson from Slingshot on here, and now guy. Applause, great guy, but two different companies where he kind of created these companies that didn't really provide the services before him. And you guys have done the same thing, and that's why I like to think like you're pioneers. You kind of started something that's not really been done before, and you're doing a great job with it, and a lot of companies are benefiting from it. So that's great.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the support. We've been using Voice for Pest software to help run the business too. So it's been great.
All right. Well, shameless plug. Baton is a Voice for Pest customer, yes. But well, thank you for that. All right. So, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in launching this company that you didn't, maybe the things you didn't expect to happen, or you maybe you thought you had this plan here, and all of a sudden you realize, well, this isn't going to work. What did you run into?
Man, well, back in the earliest days, we thought that the big moneymaker was going to be customers who are moving away, people who cancel and move to another state, because pest control companies think about how, oh man, I spent 60 or 70% of that first year contract on a sales rep or someone to get this client in the door. And then, before I can even make my money back, they move to Florida where I don't have service. So we thought, man, like these are customers that are going to sign up right away because they already had a contract, and, it's awesome. This is, and so many customers cancel each year with their pest control company. Like this is going to be the, channel that gets the referral network growing. We quickly learned that, while that is true, there are a lot of customers that accept a referral to another company wherever they're moving. A lot of times they don't want to sign up with anything at the time. Or sometimes they're just lying. They're saying I'm moving so they can get out of a contract.
Yeah. I was going to say, like in my experience, like half of the time when people say they're moving, they just don't want to have a confrontation. So they just say they're moving, and then they never move. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So, and if they are interested, they're not ready to sign up for another few months until they get to where they're going, because they might be staying with family before they move into a house or an apartment or whatever. So there's a lot of up in the air. So it's still a viable referral opportunity, but this is back in 2020 when I was testing this, but then we found out, the wildlife stuff and, service not offered, out of area leads. These are people who wanted to sign up right now. And, every company gets those calls all the time, and it hurts the most because the sales reps are the ones that are disqualifying these leads, and they're the most commission hungry instead of the retention agents. So as soon as we shifted to that in the early days, it was like 12x the number of referrals per company that were getting referred. So that was like, okay, this is where it really hurts. And this is a problem we can solve. So that was just like an early pivot. But I'd say another challenge has been, I guess, building trust, in a referral network. I guess referring a customer to any other company, there's a little bit of a risk that companies assume, right? Like they don't want to associate their name to someone who's going to do a bad job, or that might not be able to help them, or that comes back to bite them, right? They'd almost just say, some people just say, I don't want to refer to anybody because I don't want to attach my name or my precious hard-earned reputation to someone else that I can't control. But and then also, about at this point, about 20%, 10 to 20% of referrals that get passed to other companies through Baton are current customers of the companies that are sending the leads through. For example, you have a quarterly pest control customer who calls and says, hey, I've got a raccoon in my attic, or squirrels are getting in, or whatever. Can you come help me? A lot of pest control companies don't do wildlife, so they don't want to refer that existing hard-earned client to someone who's going to potentially poach that business from them.
Right.
So, getting all this feedback from companies is like, okay, how do we make sure that companies are respecting those relationships, doing a great job for each other, and that we can, make sure that this is a trusted network where, people know that their brand reputation is going to be better because of their participation in Baton rather than putting it at risk. So that's why we have the Pledge to Protect, which is, basically $1,000 guarantee. So if you ever refer a current customer through Baton to another company that has agreed to that pledge and they poach your customer, then they're on the line for $1,000 to pay you back for that, or return the customer. And, that has happened before. And
I was going to ask you if you had any rogue companies that decided to go steal, poach other companies' leads or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost never intentional. Like people don't want to, upset the companies that are sending them business, right? It's usually a sales rep who didn't get the message, like that this was an existing customer of the other one, or they're just, excited and don't understand what Baton is, like the owners do, what the reps do. So anyway, not every company opts into the Pledge to Protect. And if that's the case, then they just don't get current customer referrals from anyone ever. But anyway, the Pledge to Protect is a good thing. And then we have, processes for, just making sure companies are doing a good job and representing each other well. For example, we track answer rates. If a company refers a caller to another company and they're never answering the phone, that looks bad. We track calls, make sure that people are answering the phone. We use AI to track conversion, or just to make sure that, the sales reps are being kind. And ideally, if someone's selling more customers, it means that the customers have a better experience with the companies that they're being referred to, and then also, to get into the network, we make sure that companies have good online reviews. And, ideally we meet them at trade shows too, or through friends, and that people kind of get that, like, Baton's not just a lead platform to take advantage of, but there's a collaborative nature.
Right.
We're like, hey, we're all trying to help each other grow,
which is the core of the industry, right? It's helping each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think every podcast episode I've done so far, we've discussed how that's what the pest control, lawn care, whatever industry is all about. It's just helping people,
Yeah. You see that at trade shows. You go to Pest World or anywhere else, and all the committees and stuff too. I mean, people are very collaborative. It's awesome.
That's great. All right. Well, that's some amazing stuff. I'm speechless, and I'm never speechless. I think it's a great company, and I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
So now you have a remote international workforce, right? So what are some of the challenges, kind of go through that a little bit. Then what are some of the challenges of doing that? Because I know more and more companies are looking at remote, international workers and for different parts of their company. So kind of, how's that worked out for you?
Yeah. It's worked out really great. I'll start with that. I served an LDS mission in Honduras for 2 years when I was 19. And, that left an impression on me, like, pretty strong, where I met lots and lots of extremely smart, capable people who just couldn't make money or contribute much to the economy, I guess, because there wasn't opportunity, right? It wasn't a safe place to live. The institutions and whatever just didn't, job market, economy, they're kind of stuck without many options besides immigrating a lot of the time to another country to better themselves. So from that point, I always knew I wanted to do something to create impact in areas of the world where there's incredible people, but they just don't have the opportunity to make the money they really should be making, I guess. So, with every bank bonus, my first exposure to the remote international workforce, I got connected with a with an agency that just, cold emailed me and said, hey, Venezuela's in a tough position right now. Do you want to hire some Venezuelan workers to help you with some stuff on your website? And I said, oh, perfect. I have some data entry stuff that I could really use some help on, because it's a lot of time for me. So I hired this guy in Venezuela. He was a nice guy, but the agency didn't do a really good job of vetting, and then he cheated me on his hours like over and over again, even when I confronted him. So I kind of wrote this off. I was like, okay, I can't trust any remote workers at all. And I wish him the best. But anyway, so I kind of wrote that off. But then I had a buddy who went to BYU with me who, when I was starting Baton, he's just really passionate, shares everything about what he's doing. It's Eric Espinosa from Coconut VA. Checking in, just how am I doing? Because he's fellow entrepreneur from the program. He's like, man, we're starting hiring Filipino virtual assistants, and it's the greatest thing ever. And I figured out the process and yada yada yada. And he ended up actually helping me hire a Filipino virtual assistant back in 2021, taking me through the process and kind of alleviating my concerns. Is like, look, just because you had a bad experience there doesn't mean that they're all bad. Filipino workers are also, they speak English natively a lot of the time because of the U.S. history over there. And a lot of them already work online because of the, outsourcing industry. A lot of them worked in call centers and whatnot. Even though it's on the other side of the world, they work on our time zone because of, just the outsourcing industry. They had to work American hours at their jobs. They're very trustworthy, loyal culture, really easygoing and westernized. They know our media super well. Yada, yada, yada. It's like Philippines. Like, okay, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And
I lived in the Philippines when I was a teenager, so for 4 years. So
no way.
So my father was I worked for the government. I can't tell you what he did. I'd have to kill you. No, he just worked for the Navy, but lived on a Navy base over there for 4 years. And you're absolutely right. They learn English in school. They're the nicest people in the world. And I've even heard somebody say, like, don't use like Filipino workers to collect money because they're just too nice. They're fantastic for customer service, right? But they're not ruthless enough to go collect money. But anyway, I don't interrupt you. But yeah, I just wanted to add to the fact that yes, Filipinos in general are just, very friendly, very well spoken. And it was just a great part of my life to live there.
That's so cool. What a great experience. We had so anyway, we got our first virtual assistant that way. And then my buddy who taught us about how to recruit and find good workers there started an agency called Coconut VA that we went through him to find our next three offshore workers. A graphic designer, marketing person, an operations person whose name's Jello, who's still with us and manages a team of about 20 now.
I know Jello.
She's phenomenal. Yeah, she was at Pest World.
Yeah.
And also our third one's named Eunice, who's a scheduling operations manager as well. She's been here with us for many years now, and she's wonderful too. So after that, I was like, man, we can hire, amazing talent overseas. It creates a huge impact in their personal lives, where they can buy property, send their kids to college, buy a car, even buy homes. Some of them are buying homes. And at the same time as a startup, that's mostly bootstrapped. It was just enormous cost savings for us, So after that, we're like, okay, well, let's see what else we can hire for. And at that point, we have software developers. Many of our client success staff is based in the Philippines or South Africa or other countries. We've since opened up our recruiting pool to BYU Pathway Worldwide graduates, who are people who, across the world, many of them who served LDS missions like me. After they get home from their missions, they study online through a BYU program and get their, certificates there. And then, so we've been recruiting people from, Latin America, Jamaica, Nigeria, as well, who speak perfect English, right? Because they lived and worked with Americans for 2 years in whatever country they were serving in, or they just, like Western media and got really good language skills. We just have this awesome global team where, going back to my mission in Honduras, like, how can I create an impact for these people who would be so grateful for a job? It's been awesome to grow the company and double down on that. But some of the challenges are, as a remote international workforce, you have to be very intentional about making sure your culture is scalable and that there's a lot of high trust, like the balance of trust and accountability at the same time. and make sure that you don't just give anybody access to do anything at any time. You got to have internal controls and whatnot. You have to have good training, good leadership, mentorship, and whatever within the company. And also I would say it's a little bit imperfect of a hiring process as well. Like you have to do, whereas in the US you can kind of trust in like the value of a degree or references and such as well. Hiring remote, sometimes you don't have that. So we rely a lot on test tasks and trial periods as well, where it's like, okay, if your job is related to this, we're going to send you, please spend an hour or 2 hours doing a task that's related to that by, doing mock calls or, designing something if you're a designer, or here's a software development test task, and then create a Loom video where you explain your thought process on how you did it. And, so we've just learned a lot as we've scaled up.
The proof is in the pudding, right? You got to prove that you can do what you say you can do, right? Yeah, pretty much. That's great.
Yes. And and it's been really great. And I think, and we do hire American workers as well for leadership positions, and we want to hire more American workers. It's just, in the interest of our clients and the networks, the business's health in itself, we can hire more support staff or more talent for cheaper abroad. It creates an impact for them, but it also makes us more resourceful of a company as well. It makes us more available too. So anyway,
great.
Yeah, I'm kind of going on a little tangent here. I hope it's
no, that's good. No, it's very interesting. And I was going to say, I didn't realize that you actually have employees from multiple countries. I mean, I knew about the Philippines, but I think you're intentionally making people's lives better across the world while also providing a really powerful business that's helping companies in America. So it sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I think it's great. Yeah. All right. So let's see. So next topic. Do you have anything else on that topic? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I've been on podcasts before talking about this, and after, it's pretty common that someone reaches out afterward and be like, hey, can you help me, hire a remote office person or someone, reach out to me at phil@batonleads.com if there's, and I'm happy to share my 2 cents on, how to get started with this kind of thing. And we have resources and whatnot that we've sent people to help them. So yeah, happy to help.
That's awesome. It's phil@batonleads.com, right?
Yeah.
Just like it sounds. All right. Yep. Very good. All right. So what are some of the, we kind of talked a little bit about it, but what are some of the limitations or challenges you faced building your referral driven business that you didn't really expect? Or what do you see, or what are some of the challenges you're still trying to resolve? Or is everything just kind of humming along at this point?
Gosh, well, things are definitely better this year than they were last year, and they were better last year than the year before. I mean, it's always challenges that you resolve, but I guess the biggest challenge for me is just learning leadership, I suppose. I have a lot of respect for pest control operators in the industry, because all day, every day, you're working with people. You got techs to manage, you got office staff, you've got all your vendors and whatnot. As an online business, I feel like it's a little different, I guess. That it's not as much, liability. I don't have, I'm not sending I'm not sending texts to people's homes and company vehicles, and have to deal with insurance and, policies and avoid speeding and whatnot. So, and that leaves room for less conflict as well, especially face to face. And I guess growing up, I always considered myself kind of a conflict avoider. In my home life, that was something that I did a lot, was avoid conflict with my, just to keep the peace, and I liked having friends in high school and college, and just liked kind of pacifying people and having as many people as possible like me.
Just go along to get along, right? Go along to get along. Yeah.
Yeah. So to some extent, I feel like every business out there is a reflection of the owners, the people that run it, right? Like what culture they instill, intentionally or not intentionally. And, for the business to grow, I've had to grow, and Cody's had to grow, and all of us have had to grow. I'd say, that's the first challenge, I'd say. I mean, I'm not sure how interested people really care about, my personal growth versus like just the actual challenges and the tactics that we followed to solve them.
Well, but your personal
yeah.
growth is intertwined with it, right? That's what you're saying. Like you wouldn't have been able to grow the business if you had not grown as a person. So I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
tied together, right?
Yeah. I've had to embrace conflict, change how I see it as something to avoid to something that like is healthy to address. And when you address conflict healthily, it actually makes your team stronger and, more committed to each other. Um, you know, uh, just making decisions that impact others and, understand that there's risks and that people, it's just just growing up, I suppose. And the best operators of pest control companies, I've seen, embrace those challenges head on, right? And accept that there's going to be some failure and then learn from it and keep moving. I mean, GreenX, when I was working there, that really opened up my eyes because I was like, why is it that GreenX is growing so fast when all of these other pest control companies have been around for so long and might be stagnating or growing so much slower? And it was just vision. They just had a vision and were committed to growth, right? Whether, embracing the conflict, understanding that they need to take risks, understanding that like they're going to hire the wrong people sometimes or that they're going to fire the wrong people sometimes too. It's just like, so I guess that, that's just something I've learned, and I'd like to think that I'm much better at leading a company now than I was a year or two ago.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
So.
I mean, I can tell you, like, I certainly changed as a manager over the years. I tend to appreciate people a lot more, and you realize the value of that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This has been great. Okay, so now it's time for our guest topic. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. We can keep talking about the exact same thing we're already talking about, and I'm going to keep saying talking about a bunch of times, I guess. But any topic you want to bring up or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I'll just talk a little bit more about the challenges because
Okay.
I want to give a little bit more of like insight into Baton, I guess,
Sure.
rather than just talking about myself and how hard it was for me or whatever. Just growing a network is like you need both sides, right? People sending leads and people buying leads. And if you have a lot of people just signing up to buy referrals or to accept referrals from other companies, then they're they're not going to be happy because there's not a lot of referrals that they're getting, right? And then if a lot of people are sending referrals, but there's not a lot of people to buy them, then they might lose trust in how dense the network is and such. So we have been talking about going into other verticals, like plumbing and HVAC and doubling down on lawn or roofing and stuff like that. And that's a challenge we keep running into. It's like, is it the chicken or the egg? How do we start? Where do we go from there? But we just at least getting the pest control industry started. Cody and I, my co-founder Cody, we just grinded for like a few years nonstop. We were at like every single trade show, whether it was Pest World or a state level one.
I saw you guys at a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just like cold calling as many people as we could. Just doing whatever we could, even if it meant going without pay for a while. And it took a while. Sometimes it felt like nothing was ever going to happen. And then, it seemed like overnight, it was like, oh, wow, this is like a real active, sustainable referral network, that people like and tell us they want more of it. And it's awesome. So, I mean, if there's any lesson that anyone can take from that, it's just, I feel it feels like a lot of times if you just survive long enough, things will work out. So that's kind of just what I want to talk about. But yeah. Well, what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? I feel like you're a pretty interesting guy, Raymond. Is there anything?
What I was going to say is, I'm just thinking through what you guys have done, and you're building a referral network for other companies to take services. So you have to have enough of them for it to be viable, right? But so that seems like the biggest challenge is getting enough companies in your network that you could actually have sustainable areas. Like if the company in Jacksonville, Florida wants to refer somebody, you got to have somebody in their area. So you have to have companies everywhere. So it seems like that would have been the biggest. And that sounds like what happened is you finally got to the point where you had like enough coverage, right, to where the referrals actually worked. So I think that's it's pretty fascinating. I think the whole thing's fascinating. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad it's worked out, and I'm glad for all the support of all of our customers all across the country. Because like you said, like everyone needs to buy in, otherwise it's not valuable for most people. So thank
if
you
you
to
have 3
everyone who's
companies in the
supported.
country, it's not much referrals you can do, right? Sorry.
No.
Right. Well, this has been fantastic. I'm going to bring Carissa back in now, and we're going to have a little fun. We got a couple fun little questions we like to do at the end of our podcast episode. Hello, Carissa.
Hello.
Hi, Carissa.
Right.
Hello.
All right, so here we go. What I found works is I'll ask the question and I'll answer first to give you time to think about it, because I already know the question, so I've already thought about it, right?
Okay.
All right, so the first question is, if animals could talk, which animal would be the rudest?
If animals could talk, which animal would be
The rudest animal? And I'll give you my answer. I was rudest, but I think a shark. I mean, sharks really aren't very nice, and they eat you. So I think they'd be, if not rude, they'd be really mean, right? I wouldn't want to have a conversation with a shark, even if he wasn't going to eat me. So that's my answer.
I think you're probably right. I also wouldn't be surprised if a shark just thought of it as nothing personal. Just like, I'm hungry, I got to eat someone, and here you are.
Sorry, it's you, but that's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, penguins came to mind for me. I don't know if it's because of penguins in the Madagascar movies or whatever, but I just feel like I don't know. I feel like
they got an attitude.
Yeah. Something about them strikes me as like they'd be sharp.
I never would have thought penguins would be rude, but now that you say it, I can kind of see it. Carissa, what do you think?
I think I'm going to go with a lion. I feel like they could be a little grumpy. They sleep a lot and then be a little snippy.
Well, cats can be.
Yeah.
Cats. I mean, I'm a cat guy. Cats can have attitude. So, and the male lions especially, they just lay around all day and don't do anything but eat. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, we got one more question. If you had to live on a television show, which television show would it be and why?
Wow.
Carissa, we'll let Carissa answer it. Give you time to think about it, because I already know what her answer is. So go ahead, Carissa.
I think I'm changing my mind.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't know. I was going to go with my favorite show, but I don't want to be in like a doctor. I don't want to be in a hospital all the time.
What's your favorite show?
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, you would live in a hospital. Yeah.
Then I was thinking like maybe like this older show like Supermarket Sweep. Like, so I'd live in a supermarket, so I wouldn't be hungry.
That's true. You'd always have food. Supermarkets have bathrooms. Food. Yeah, you're good. TVs. Yeah. That's a good answer.
Everything you need.
Phil?
Wow. I think I would. This is pretty recent. I'm watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon animated series right now. A little random, but I just looking up another series to watch. Asking AI or whatever, like, what are the best series of all time? And it said Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the greatest series of all time. Like, super, super high rated. I was like, wow, I watched it as a kid, but I never watched it all the way through. And gosh, that story is incredible. Really? I highly recommend Avatar: The Last Airbender. And the world building is so cool. Storytelling, character development. Anyway, I would place my heart, like, part of me wishes I was like a waterbender or airbender or something. So
that's pretty funny. So
bring it back.
That's great. So my answer is we watch a lot of cooking shows, and we're watching MasterChef Australia right now. Whoa. And season 4, and it's like 12 years old, but I would probably do that because I love to cook. But what I like about MasterChef Australia specifically is they basically live together for like 3 months. They don't get to go home really. They create these incredible bonds with each other, even though they're competing. They get to go all over and travel and cook, and they meet all these amazing chefs. So I think I probably wouldn't mind living in that show and doing that kind of stuff. That seems pretty cool.
That sounds pretty wonderful. I actually want to change my answer to another cartoon called Rocket Power, which is where a bunch of kids in California.
Sorry, though, you can't change your answer. You can't do it. No, sorry, you had one shot. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. What's it called? Rocket Power?
Rocket Power. These kids who grow up in California or something, and they just go skating and playing street hockey all the time. And growing up in Indiana, where we didn't have beaches or surfing or anything like that, I was very jealous. So if I could live in Rocket Power, that'd be great.
Hence your love of scooters, right? Because you're in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Not much surfing going on. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I've said it before. I'll say it again. This has been a fantastic episode. I mean, it's a great story to tell. You're a great storyteller to tell it. And we really appreciate you being on here. Any parting thoughts for the world of the 9 or 12 people that are going to watch this?
Well, you 9 or 12 people are very important to me and to Raymond and Carissa. So thank you very much for listening. And thanks a lot for having me on here. You guys have been awesome to work with, and really appreciate you inviting me. This was fun.
Our pleasure. Thanks for being here. You did the hard part. All right. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.